We'll admit people as they come, but get this started. We've got the dangers of AI deepfakes for your business. We'll promise the best 15 minutes of cybersecurity, and I'm sure Fink and Durrell will deliver. But as we get started here, you have any questions, drop them in the Q&A. We'll either answer them during the webinar here, where there's opportunities to. If not, we'll have time for a little Q&A section at the end. But presenters, I've got Mike Fink, Silicon Plains account manager here for North Dakota, and Darrell Middleton, Silicon Plains account manager for Colorado. So with that, Darrell, I have you take it away.
All right. Thanks for everyone joining, and thanks for the warm introduction. And how are you, Mike? First of all, let's start there.
I'm doing good.
Right.
Ready to go.
All right. So I know this is a topic near and dear to you, sir, right? And
Yes.
you've been doing a lot of researching on it yourself personally, and you've actually created some deep fakes from what I hear. I'm kidding. Don't answer that. So
In the name of
I'll say this.
science.
Yeah, in the name of science. Mike, tell us how is this done? How are AI deepfakes done? How does that work?
Well, the technology is getting better and better all the time, and the bottom line of it is you don't have to be super technical anymore to do some of this stuff. And as it continues to get better, it's going to be easier to use, and it's going to be, potentially more harmful or in certain circumstances. So, but there are websites out there right now where you can take some video of yourself or someone else and plug it into the algorithm, and they will, and with that, it will match your voice tonality. It'll match pauses and different things you have in your speech pattern, and it will look basically like you on the screen. And the more video that's available of you, the easier it is to do. I saw an article related to a person that was a YouTube personality, and he was able to do a deepfake video for free through one of these programs,
Right.
and convinced his wife
What?
that it was him having a video call with her. She could not tell the difference.
Wow.
So that's how good it's gotten already, and it's only going to get better.
So speaking of that point, I was recently on a Facebook, and then they have this little button you can click to create, an AI image or things like that. So there's software out there as well to help the bad guys create this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's there for business use and for, unfortunately, some people use it for malicious intent.
Yeah. So we know about phishing. So this is more powerful, or, kind of like phishing to a higher level. Can you speak to that a little bit? So AI deepfakes, that goes beyond regular phishing, huh?
Right. Absolutely. When it's become commonplace to have virtual meetings with people. Since COVID, it's really been a normal kind of thing. And when you can no longer trust your eyes to know whether or not someone is a real person or a deep fake,
Yeah.
it's difficult.
Yeah, especially if the voice is matching up. What can this end up doing to your business, small, medium, or large?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about some examples, but some of the more recent ones, there's been a lot of different people out on the internet that have been promoting this idea of applying for multiple positions and, getting, 10 or 15 or 20 part-time jobs or full-time jobs, that they are doing full virtual interviews with an AI deepfake agent that is actually performing the interview on their behalf.
Yeah, and even back to the effect that it can have on a small business, and I know I shared this story with you, and I don't mind sharing it with everybody, but I was a victim of a AI phishing attack, not an AI attack at the time in 2018. My password was compromised. I lost access to my server. I lost access to all my stats for my players. It was a basketball team, And my server and all my web domains were held hostage, effectively really ending my business. So even though it was not an AI deepfake, which would have definitely gotten me, right? So I fell victim to a phishing attack, and it just absolutely decimated my business. And it's part of the reason and my passion on why I do what I do now with Silicon Plains.
And
So
that's
speaking of
and
which,
that's
yeah,
and that's the story too many small business owners have.
Yeah.
Is they're just not, they haven't, something like this happens, and most of them don't have the resources to recover from it.
yeah, that's right. And not only that, you're so focused in on your business that you're not necessarily paying attention to these kind of things that can happen to you. Really, honestly, if I delve a little bit deeper, and I won't spend too much more time on it, I was clicking on a Dropbox of photos that I was expecting from our photographer. So the point being that this, the bad guy had already watched my clicks and what I was doing and the emails that I was sending. So just like an AI deepfake, it was something I was expecting and was happy to click on it. And then all of a sudden, I became compromised. But hey, so speaking of deepfakes, have you heard about this one from what is this, Arup? What happened there?
Yeah. So that it's kind of a big example of how far this can go already. So this is a situation where an executive for a company was brought into a senior leadership meeting with people that he knew. And it was a whole like host of people, just like virtual meetings we've all been on. And they convinced him during that meeting to transfer $25 million for a new project that they had unanimously decided at this executive team meeting was going to happen. And
Right.
it turned out that every single other person other than the one that was being, that was the victim of this attack, every other single person on that meeting was an AI deepfake and not a real person.
Wow, that's crazy. And then, I even have an example with a friend, not a random, WPP communications that we've never heard of. I have a friend that I've known for many years, and she directly reports to the CFO. Got a voicemail, hey, I need this vendor paid, send this money now, at 3 p.m. on a Friday, right? And she was about to wire the money and pay the invoice, and then saw something was wrong and actually called the CFO, who said, hey, I didn't send that message. I didn't call you today at all.
Yeah,
So, that was a close call. But to your point, a call emulating the CFO's voice could have resulted in a massive wire exchange.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with, you talk about AI voice agents at this point, there are programs out there perfectly legal.
Yeah.
You got to there, but what they can do is they can make 14,000 phone calls in a minute.
Right.
So if you want to
Right.
know why you're getting more, I must sound older online or something, but I get about 7 or 8 calls a day for them trying to sell me Medicare supplement insurance. So, and it's always an AI voice agent that's calling.
Right. Yeah. Any other anecdotes or examples that you have in your own life with your customer base, Mike?
Well, there's absolutely close calls and things like that happen with clients and with prospects all the time. And I've said this probably 100 times, but the phone call I hate getting the most is the prospect that wasn't ready to take the steps needed from a cybersecurity standpoint, and there was some kind of compromise in their business, and what they had built over that entire time frame then all of a sudden was gone in an instant.
AI deepfakes are
kind of
easy
like
to-
your story.
Yeah. Hey, watch.
Right. Sorry, I wasn't trying to touch a nerve there, but
Touch a nerve.
But
Yeah.
the other one is this, WPP communications, and that was a situation where they had an employee that had taken, or they had a attacker that had taken footage of a CEO off the internet, and basically used that to create the AI deepfake, having never met the person, and had someone on their on their team in the process of creating a new business entity that they were going to transfer assets into and various things like that. Now, while that attack ultimately failed, it's another example of close calls that happen all
Sure.
the time.
So we don't want to be all doom and gloom here, or like my son, my teenage son walked by the sink and said, "Hey, Dad, there's a sink full of dirty dishes over there," and he just walked away. So we don't want to be that kind of company, right? So how can
Right.
we clean this up? What can your business do, or what can you do? What can folks do to kind of avoid this stuff?
Absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of these things are things that people know, but it's important things. So it bears repeating. Multi-factor authentication on every single possible thing you can. That second step of authentication can sometimes make the difference between an attack being successful and not. And the percentages are really high in those kind of things. Employee training. All of your staff need to understand security awareness, and they need to be looking at it at a regular basis. When it is just a one phishing email that goes out per month, or one training video that you do a year, it's not enough to stay top of mind. It's not enough to become part of a security culture, which is the third part of the equation. Once you have that security culture and you have people that are thinking about security related items on a regular basis, it really takes people are one of the biggest risk factors to any business. And it really takes that and creates a layer of defense that is second to none.
Right. And then
there isn't a one size fits all piece of software you can buy that's going to protect from everything. You need people thinking before they click. You need people thinking about who's walking into your building and who's not walking into your building, and whether they're supposed to be there. You need people thinking about that phone call they got, that email they got, that text message they got, or the video conference now.
Right. Yep. Because I read that this happens every 35 seconds, some sort of cybersecurity attack on most businesses, counties, and government entities every 35 seconds. So having that MFA, or multi-factor authentication, employee training, and security will certainly help.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, we are just approaching our 15 minutes here, so that kind of wraps it up for the presentation part. So if there are any questions, Q&A is open. We did have a couple that came in ahead of time, or if you'd like to raise your hand, we'd be happy to unmute you and ask these guys your questions. So we'll leave that open for a few minutes, but if not, that kind of wraps up this part of it. The only other thing I guess I'd really say is we are posting another one of these in a month. So May 15th, 3 p.m., and that one's going to be all about maximizing your IT budget as we approach maybe some uncertain economic situations, and just kind of planning those things out, coupled with obviously Windows 11 is definitely going to put some pressure on the supply chains here over the next year or so. Well, over the next 8 months.
It might be worth just stating on the call too, the Windows 10 end of life is October of this year. So the last time we went through something like this with Windows 7 end of life, towards that deadline, it was virtually impossible to get hardware because there was so much demand, so little supply, that prices went through the roof. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but at the same time, I don't want people to think they can wait until just before the deadline and make the changes that they need and have everything in place. And right after that Windows 7 end of life, the next day, a
ton of
attacks, brand new 0-day attacks were put out because they held them just prior to the last patch update, so that Microsoft wouldn't have a chance to correct the issue.
So what kind of questions do we have, Damien?
So I just dropped a question in there just so it lights up on everybody's screen. So if anybody's not quite sure how to get a hold of it, that's where it is. But first question I've got here, sent in via email ahead of time, is from Kelly. Kelly asks, how does this apply to me as a small business owner? So I know you guys touched on it a little bit throughout the presentation there, but just give me a little bit more depth on that, if you would.
Well, if I can respond to that, Kelly, it happened to me. It wasn't a deep fake, but it was a phishing attack. And again, I lost access to my server, which means I lost access to all my stats. It's a basketball team, so the players' physicals. So I wasn't able to, promote or trade players to other teams. I lost all the access to my videos. My domain, I wasn't able to sell or promote basketball games online. So it absolutely wrecked my business. The other ways it can affect you as a small business is that, you're in control of other folks' data. So you lose quite a bit of credibility and create a lot of liability for yourself when you're holding on to someone's social security cards and, social security numbers, credit cards, things like that. So it can absolutely crush you as a small business if you don't have a team like ours in place to protect you from that, so you can focus in on your business.
And I would say too, with the AI deepfakes, especially with the new interview type things that people are trying to do, there's a lot of times that somebody will do an interview over a video conference like this, and when you have situations like that where you're trying to fill a position, and it's not easy a lot of times. When you're trying to fill a position and it's a position you're having a hard time, and then the ideal candidate just pops up, but they can only meet by video conference, and you start going through the process and everything looks good and all the paperwork looks good, and you hire them and you start sending them money, and maybe you're even getting some production out of them, but maybe you don't. It's the same kind of thing, but it can waste a lot of your time, and a lot of times small businesses don't have that time to waste. They're usually wearing a lot of hats and need to get things done.
Absolutely. So we did get a message in the chat here while you were going over that point. Message says, we do legal work and AI fakes have now become an issue regarding admission of evidence. Do you guys have any tips or anything to comment on with that chat message there?
Yeah, I'd say it's only going to get harder. I wish there was a better answer. But yeah, AI deepfakes are definitely an issue. You can, even if you look at some of our social media posts and things out on Facebook, we've had things that are completely AI generated videos, and I think that there were some posts about actual AI deepfakes that were reposts that people have done related to what it looks like now. And when you can no longer rely on video evidence in a court of law, where does that leave us?
Yeah. And then one thing that I will state too, from a legal standpoint, as a business owner, you reduce your liability as long as that you're implementing these kind of tools in place where you're training your employees and they're clicking through the videos. At least that reduces your liability if something goes wrong and you end up being the victim.
Yeah, absolutely. I just was going to say one kind of interesting resource out there. It's part game, part training tool. Microsoft has a really good 10 question side-by-side AI image and video detector. That's free. Just Google it. It's the first thing that pops up. That can really show you how accurate AI deepfakes are, both picture, video, phone. They've got a little quiz. I think it's just 10 questions, but it's difficult, even when you know what you're looking for, to do better than 70-80%. So it's just a free resource out there for folks who are interested.
It might be useful, Damien, if you wanted to post that on our social media feed so people can go find it on Facebook. Just follow us and you'll get all kinds of tips and tricks and things like that. So,
and then I would also add, I just want to add, AI deepfakes, phishing, and all kinds of scams always have some sort of urgency from the scammer. The bad guy is trying to force you to quickly make a decision. So if it feels, if your spider senses are tingling, then it's a good time to slow down and verify that, the person on the other end is somebody that's valid.
Right.
Absolutely. Actually, Darrell, playing into that, we did have another question that came in over email ahead of time, kind of touched on that a little bit. And the question is, who should be worried the most in an organization? Who would this kind of affect the most? And I would say, and you guys kind of correct me here if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
I would say the rules for AI deepfakes are, I mean, basically the same as phishing. We talk
Yeah.
about phishing plays on senses of urgency, senses of control, want you to, do these things right away. If we're able to, no, not we, if this AI deepfake threat's able to replicate that with phone calls, I mean, I think everybody on the call here has probably been on one side or the other of a phone call that ends with something along the lines of, I need it done this week, right? So that's a very common thing in a lot of businesses, right? And that used to be something you had no question who was on the other line, but you do now.
The
I
person,
mean, you guys have anything to jump in on with there?
yeah, to answer your question directly, the person that's most probably targeted will be your CEO, your business owner, the president, CFO. Those kind of folks are, the message will come from them. Those are the people that are being targeted as well. So those are the people that are most likely to open up an email and click on it. And, I've got many of examples of that, but I won't share them here. But
No, but
Yeah.
the other thing to consider is, while that is the most targeted people, while those are the most targeted people in an organization, whoever it is at any level in the organization, one of the things to consider is, if somebody isn't as tech savvy in your company, that's somebody that might be more susceptible to these kind of things. And so it's important to top to bottom of the org chart. I mean, anybody that's taking phone calls, anybody that's on a video call, anybody that's getting emails or text messages on behalf of the company or in their personal life. I mean, it might not be an attack on a business; it might be an attack on somebody personally.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
if you can be part of the training that helped them prevent something like that in their personal life, I think that goes a long way towards building employee loyalty as well.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, there are no other questions at this time in the chat here, so we'll leave it open for another minute or so if anybody has any questions, and if not, here we go. All right. So we got a message here in the chat that says, use a no before training. We know who our clickers are. So that's absolutely correct. The culprits anyways.
Yes,
that's right.
And that's true. But again, even somebody who's not traditionally a clicker, hey, I'll use me as an example. I don't typically fall for those kind of things, but I had a situation where I made a joke with our accounting team, called them the accounting team, and like within 5 minutes of that, just by chance, a simulated phishing email came out from the accounting team just to me. And I thought, they liked my joke. Well, absolutely. I'm going to click on the thing and update and make sure my tax information is up to date. And then when I got the, oops, we got you.
You have to go through remedial training, didn't you?
Right. Then I got extra training. So now I'm extra trained. But it can happen to anybody. So, whether now, there are people that habitually click on things, and there are people that just the timing is right. Like you said, Darrell, in your situation, you were expecting pictures and something saying it was pictures came across. Sometimes it's just good luck in timing for the attacker.
Yeah, I would definitely say to touch on that. I mean, it's equal parts timing, it's equal parts volume, right? I know it's something the three of us has talked about, but it's not somebody hunched over their desk singling out your business to go after that day. They are doing this to hundreds of people, thousands of businesses across the board, all day, every day, all automated. And when they get somebody on the line, maybe then they jump in, right? But that's part of why the timing always seems to be so good, because a lot of people, I mean, we saw the previous slide, 94% of businesses reported at least an attempt last year. My question would be, what's the other 6% not know is going on, right? Because I mean, the volume we see, attempts are being made for sure. Perfect. Well, there are some other questions here in the chat. Kind of just to wrap things up, thank you everybody for being in attendance. You'll get a link to check this out, the recording, maybe condensed down a little bit with some of us rambling at the end, maybe chopped off. We'll see. But included in that email is going to be a link to the next one, Thursday, May 15th, same time, third Thursday at 3, maximizing your IT budget, as well as I'll toss that Microsoft AI detection test in there as well. So with that, we hope everybody has a good rest of your week.